The kiss that wasn't meant to happen. Ava Hartley didn't wake up that morning thinking she would face her past. She didn't pick her outfit with revenge in mind. She didn't curl her hair or apply subtle shimmery eyeshadow with the intention of proving something to anyone. She told herself she was going to gala to celebrate her best friend's art exhibit, to finally step outside her comfort zone, to feel like she belonged somewhere beyond her tiny shared apartment, stacks of rejected job applications, and the lingering ache in her chest. She insisted, repeatedly, to herself, to the mirror, and to her friend Mia, that the night wasn't about him. But beneath all the denial was a quiet truth she could barely admit. Ava wanted to feel chosen again, wanted to feel seen, wanted a night that reminded her she wasn't the girl someone once threw away. She just didn't expect fate to test her so fast. The City Crest Art Museum was packed wall-to-wall with influencers, wealthy donors, critics in designer glasses, and people who walked like they'd never once wondered if they belonged. Ava, in contrast, stood near a marble column, clutching a glass of sparkling water like it was armor. Her dress, deep emerald satin with thin straps, was the nicest thing she owned, bought on sale with a coupon, altered by hand after hours of YouTube tutorials. She looked beautiful, but she felt like a masquerader who stole her way into royalty. Still, she tried to breathe, tried to look confident, tried to remind herself she had just as much right to be there as anyone else. Then she heard it, that voice, smooth, familiar, sharp as memory. Liam Hawthorne. The name alone caused a physical reaction. Her stomach dipped like an elevator, losing power. She turned slowly, hoping she was mistaken. But there he was, standing near the spotlight display, tall, tailored, polished, his arm wrapped casually around the waist of a stunning brunette, wearing a couture dress that clung like liquid gold. The woman laughed at something Liam whispered, her diamond earrings glinting beneath chandelier lights. Ava's heart squeezed, not because she still loved him, but because the memory of how he left her burned like fresh betrayal. He had walked away without warning. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. 1 week they were planning their move, building dreams over pasta in her tiny kitchen. The next he told her, calmly, coldly, that her life ambitions were too small, that she lacked the refinement to accompany him into the circles he was entering, that she wasn't at the level he needed anymore. He left her with a broken heart, unpaid bills, and a note that said, "You'll thank me one day." Tonight, he looked like someone who never carried guilt, someone who leveled up, someone whose life improved without her. His gaze swept casually across the room until it landed on Ava. Recognition flashed, followed by something worse. Smug satisfaction. He excused himself from the woman beside him and walked toward Ava with confident, calculated steps, hands in his pockets, chin lifted just slightly higher than necessary. "Wow," he said when he reached her, eyes moving from her shoes to her hair. "You're the same." Ava forced a breath. "Hello, Liam." He smirked, unimpressed. "Didn't expect to see you here. This crowd's a little beyond your usual reach, isn't it?" The implication stung. "You don't belong here." Ava straightened her shoulders. "I'm here for Mia." "Oh," he said with that tone, the one that passes polite but carried blades. "Still hanging around starving artists?" "Cute." Before she could respond, the brunette walked over, sliding her perfectly manicured hand into Liam's. She studied Ava the way someone inspects thrift store furniture. Curious, but only to confirm it isn't worth buying. "Liam," she said sweetly, "aren't you going to introduce me?" Liam nodded lazily. "Right. Ava Hartley. This is Vanessa Carell. My fiancée." Ava blinked. "Fiancée." Vanessa lifted her left hand proudly. The diamond was so large it could signal aircraft. "Liam proposed last month," she said. "He told me all about his past relationship. Something about a humble girl from the wrong side of the tracks." Ava felt heat spike across her skin. Embarrassment, anger, humiliation. That wasn't exactly how he put it. She managed. "Oh, I'm sure," Vanessa replied, voice dripping with false sympathy. "But don't worry. We all start somewhere." Ava's jaw tightened. She refused to let them see her crumble. "I'm actually working on some new career plans. Things are looking up." Liam raised a brow. Still applying for assistant jobs? He chuckled. Ava, the corporate world is brutal. You might be better sticking to small projects. You're just not cut out for bigger roles. She swallowed hard. He used to hold her while she cried about rejected applications. He used to tell her she was destined for greatness. Now he used those same dreams as weapons. Before Ava could reply, a smooth voice cut through the tension from behind her. There you are. I've been looking for you. A large, warm hand slid onto small her back. Ava froze. She turned and nearly forgot how to breathe. The man beside her was impossibly striking. Tall, broad-shouldered, midnight black hair, a tailored charcoal suit that fit like it was designed around his body, and eyes such a penetrating shade of blue, they bordered on unreal. He looked like wealth, like power, like someone untouched by insecurity. He offered a polite smile to Liam and Vanessa. Sorry to interrupt, he said. I'm Adrian Hale. Liam blinked, stunned for a fraction of a second. Ava had no idea who this man was, but judging from the slight widening of Vanessa's eyes, they did. Liam's smug expression faltered. You're Adrian Hale of Hale Dynamics. Ava stiffened. Hale Dynamics was a name she recognized. A tech empire, billion-dollar contracts. A man whose face occasionally appeared in business magazines, though she'd never paid close attention. Adrian's eyes flicked to hers with gentle warmth, sending a bolt of electricity down her spine. Yes, he said smoothly, and Ava is here with me. The air shifted. Vanessa's posture straightened. Liam blinked again. Ava, in contrast, could only whisper, with you? Adrian leaned in slightly, pretending to brush a lock of hair behind her ear. Yet the intimacy felt real, his breath warm against her cheek. You didn't think I'd let you wander off alone, did you? He murmured. Ava had no idea what game he was playing, but she suddenly felt shielded, protected in a way that made her knees weak. Liam cleared his throat. I didn't know you two knew each other. We met recently, Adrian replied without missing a beat. Ava has a unique presence. Hard to forget. Vanessa smiled politely, but Ava could see the calculation behind her eyes. So what you do, Ava? Vanessa asked, still searching for direction. Ava opened her mouth, but Adrian spoke first, confident, unbothered. She's a creative strategist, he said. I've been consulting with her privately on some projects. Fresh perspectives like hers are rare high levels. Ava nearly choked. Creative strategist? Consulting? High levels? None of that was true, but the words carried so much conviction she almost believed them herself. Liam's expression shifted again, less smug now, more tense. That's surprising, he muttered. Adrian's jaw tightened, but his smile never slipped. You seem shocked, he said to Liam. Is Ava not someone worth investing in? Liam hesitated. She just doesn't seem refined. Adrian finished. Prepared? He let his gaze sharpen. Or did you simply assume your judgment defines her ceiling? Vanessa stepped in smoothly. We didn't mean anything negative. We only thought she looked out of place. Ava felt the humiliation rising again, until Adrian did something reckless. He slipped his hand beneath her chin and gently turned her face toward him, as if she were the only person in the room. I asked her to be here, he said quietly. She belongs more than anyone. Time slowed. Ava's breath tangled in her throat. The warmth of his touch didn't feel like an act. It felt terrifyingly real. Liam looked away first. Well, he said stiffly, we should mingle. Enjoy your evening. They walked off, Vanessa glancing back once with a look Ava couldn't decipher. Envy, curiosity, or jealousy. When they finally disappeared into crowd, Adrian dropped his hand and stepped back. Ava exhaled shakily. Why did you do that? He looked at her with a calm, almost unreadable expression. Because no one talks to someone like that in front of me, he said, simply. You deserve backup. But you don't know me. He held her gaze. Everyone deserves respect, he said, especially when others try to take it away. Ava felt something tug tightly at her chest. Something warm, something dangerous. So, you're just my hero tonight? She asked softly, trying to make light of it. A slow smile curved across his lips. Maybe I like the role. She laughed breathlessly. Well, thank you. I should probably. Not yet, he interrupted gently. I need a favor. She froze. He slipped one hand into his pocket, expression shifting from charming to serious, like he carried weight no one else could see. My board is forcing me to attend a series of public events with eligible business partners, he said carefully. I need someone beside me who isn't trying to advance their own agenda. Ava blinked. Are you saying? I need a girlfriend, he finished. A temporary one, just for appearances. Ava's heart thundered. You need me? Adrian nodded once. I chose you. Why? His answer was immediate. You didn't bow when others tried to make you feel small. Silence wrapped around them. Ava suddenly realized their meeting wasn't coincidence. It felt like a shift in her life. Small, quiet, inevitable. But you don't know who I really am, she whispered. He stepped closer, voice low. I want to. Ava's pulse raced. She should say no. She should run. She should avoid stepping into a world that could break her even harder than Liam did. But then she saw Liam across the room again, laughing, confident, certain she would always be beneath him, and she felt something fierce rise inside her. A spark, maybe even destiny. All right, she said finally. Tell me the details. Adrian's smile was slow and devastating. Dinner first, he whispered. Then the truth. He extended his hand. Ava hesitated for one last heartbeat, then placed her hand in his. The moment their fingers intertwined, everything changed. Tonight wasn't about her ex anymore. It was about becoming someone he could never reach again. Someone powerful. Someone unstoppable. Someone seen. And Adrian Hale might just be the key to unlocking that version of herself. The terms of the arrangement. Ava had never been inside a luxury car before. At least not one where the leather still held warm from the sun, and the seats adjusted silently to her posture like the vehicle was welcoming her as a guest rather than merely carrying her as cargo. The ride from the museum to the restaurant was quiet, not uncomfortable, but tense in a way that felt charged, like both she and Adrian were silently recalibrating around a strange, unplanned connection now tethering them. Outside, city lights streaked past the windows, reflections of gold and neon trailing in lazy smears like brushstrokes on glass. Inside, soft instrumental music filled the silence, and for a moment, Ava wondered if she had stepped into someone else's life. Someone richer, smoother, more confident. She clasped her hands in her lap. Just to be clear, she finally said, breaking the silence, you don't actually expect me to pretend to be your girlfriend after the night, right? That was just for show. Adrian glanced at her, amused in that quiet, unreadable way that suggested he rarely explained himself. If it were just for tonight, I would have thanked you already and called it a favor repaid. So this is serious? More serious than I intended when I walked into that gallery, he admitted. Ava swallowed, unsure whether to feel flattered or suddenly in over her head. Why me? I mean, you saw me for what, 10 seconds before you stepped in? There were dozens of people you could have used to make a point. I didn't choose you to make a point, he said softly. I chose you because you looked like you needed someone to choose you. Ava froze. No one had ever said something like that to her, not without strings, judgment, or pity. She turned her face back toward the window, trying to hide the way her throat tightened. He didn't press further. When the car pulled up at the restaurant, a valet opened her door before she could reach the handle. The moment Ava stepped out, she realized the place wasn't simply high-end. It was a sort of restaurant that whispered legacy and exclusivity. There was no sign, no logo, no presence on street level. Just heavy glass doors guarded by marble columns, and 2 staff members who bowed slightly when Adrian approached. This is not a place people like me go, Ava murmured. People like you? Adrian echoed, escorting her inside. You're going to have to be more specific. You know, people who don't own stocks or yachts or outfits that cost more than their rent. You're with me, he said simply. That's all that matters. She wanted to believe that. Inside, candlelight flickered against velvet walls, and crystal chandeliers cast a soft glow over well-spaced tables draped in snow-white linens. The atmosphere hummed with quiet prestige, Nothing was loud. Nothing was rushed. Conversations were murmured, private, controlled. A hostess approached immediately. "Mr. Hale," she greeted warmly. "Your private room is ready." Private room. Ava swallowed again. The hostess led them through the dining hall to a secluded chamber separated by frosted glass panels. Inside, a single table sat beneath a modern chandelier, with sweeping floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city skyline. Ava sat across from Adrian, suddenly hyper-aware of everything. Her hands, her posture, the faint tremble in her breath. The waiter poured water, presented a leather-bound menu, and retreated. Ava opened it and felt her pulse spike. There were no prices listed. "That's how you know everything is too expensive," she whispered. Adrian hid a smile. "Order whatever interests you." "That's exactly the problem," she whispered back. "Everything interests me." He laughed, low and warm, and something inside her unraveled. For a moment, she saw not the billionaire, not the mysterious figure from headlines, but a man who looked tired, human, like he carried obligations that suffocated him, expectations heavy enough to crush the wrong person. When the waiter returned and took their orders, the room fell into a quieter, deeper silence. Ava leaned forward. "Tell me why you need this arrangement." "Really?" Adrian exhaled slowly, leaning back in his chair, as though preparing to shed armor. "My company is entering government contracting," he said. "Major deals, international, politically sensitive, and very public. That means press attention, appearances, scrutiny, and alliances." "You mean arranged partners," Ava said softly. His jaw tightened. "Investors, board members, philanthropists. Everyone wants to attach their daughter, niece, or protege to me like I'm a prize to be claimed. Every event turns into a parade of candidates. Like matchmaking for power," she murmured. "Exactly," he said. "And every person I've been pushed toward has a goal: ownership, control, an alliance. No one wants me. They want what I can give them." Ava nodded slowly. "So you want someone who doesn't want anything from you." He met her gaze. "And someone who won't fall in love." Ava froze. He said like a warning, not arrogance. "A boundary drawn to protect them both." "I've been in relationships where feelings complicate things," he continued. "Where affection turns into claims. Where love becomes leverage." A shadow crossed his eyes. Old scars, deep and unspoken. "What happened?" she asked before she could stop herself. He hesitated, then shook his head. "That's a conversation for later, if you decide to do this." She nodded slowly. "Fair enough. And you," he asked, "why consider it?" Ava laughed once, not bitter, but resigned. "Because my life is falling apart in the most cliché way possible." She didn't expect to share anything, but the words came anyway. "I lost my job 3 months ago. My savings are gone. I'm living with 2 roommates who think ramen counts as cuisine. I've applied to 86 jobs. No one calls." Adrian listened, really listened without pity. "And seeing Liam tonight," she continued, trying not to choke, "it made me feel like I'm still the same girl he walked away from. Like I never grew past that moment. Like everyone has moved forward except me." He didn't speak, but his gaze softened. "I don't want a relationship," Ava said quietly. "Not now. Not when I'm rebuilding. But a chance to step into a different world, to be seen, to not struggle every month to survive, that's tempting." Adrian nodded once, thoughtful. "Then maybe we can help each other." Their food arrived, elegant plates arranged like art, but neither touched it at first. Adrian folded his hands. "Here are the terms," he said calmly. "No intimacy beyond what's necessary for appearances. No obligations outside scheduled events. No jealousy. No emotional attachment." Ava exhaled. "Clear enough. What about logistics?" "You'll attend 3 to 5 events per month. Some dinners, charity galas, business summits, private gatherings. Nothing scandalous. You'll dress appropriately. I'll cover wardrobe, transportation, accommodations." Her heart skipped. "Accommodations?" "Occasionally. Events span multiple days. We would share proximity, not a room." She nodded. "And what do I get?" His voice lowered. "A salary. Enough to remove financial stress for the next year. Her heart raced. How much? He named a number. Ava's breath left her body. Adrian, that's too much. It's what your presence is worth to me. She stared at him. Try to understand why someone born with everything needed her of all people. And when this ends, she asked softly, we leave with dignity, he said. No scandals, no accusations, no bad blood. And Liam? She asked, unable to help herself. Adrian's eyes flickered, not with jealousy, but curiosity. What about him? Part of me wants him to see what he lost, to regret choosing someone else. Adrian's tone softened, surprisingly gentle. That part of you is wounded, not malicious. She nodded, eyes burning. But it's still there. He leaned closer. This arrangement will change your life, he said. But if you want only to hurt him, it will destroy you instead. Ava swallowed hard. He was right. Liam didn't get to be the reason she rose. She needed to rise for herself. When dessert arrived, dark chocolate mousse decorated with gold flakes, Ava finally spoke. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it on one condition. Adrian lifted an eyebrow. Another one? I want you to tell me why you really avoid relationships, she said. Eventually, not tonight, not tomorrow, but someday. He held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Deal. A small smile tugged at Ava's lips. Then you officially have a girlfriend. His breath caught just slightly, as though the words hit deeper than he expected. He extended his hand. She took it. Their partnership felt sealed, not by contract, but by something unspoken, fragile, powerful. A future neither of them could predict. They left the restaurant past midnight. The city's streets glowed, slick with rain, lights reflecting like stars falling to earth. Adrian opened the car door for her, but before she stepped inside, he paused. Ava. Yes. Whatever happened tonight, whatever started this, don't let him define the next chapter of your life. She nodded. I won't. Not anymore. He held her gaze a moment longer, then closed the door. As the car pulled away, Ava looked out the window, not at the past fading behind her, but at the towering skyline ahead. For the first time in months, she didn't feel like she was waiting for her life to begin. She felt like she had already stepped into it. A billionaire's family is never just family. Ava woke the next morning expecting to feel regret, panic, maybe even fear at having agreed to something so wildly beyond her old reality. But instead she felt light, energized, like someone had finally cracked open a window in a room she'd been suffocating in. Sunlight filtered through her blinds, casting warm lines across her blankets. Her phone buzzed on a nightstand, and she reached groggily, expecting a text from Mia asking about the gala. Instead, she found a message from Adrian. Brunch today. Private driver will pick you up at 12:30. Dress comfortably, but elegant. We have our first appearance tomorrow, and there's much to prepare. A.H. Ava blinked, reread the text twice, then sat up fully awake. First appearance. Tomorrow. The word sent a jolt of anticipation and nerves through her chest. She threw the covers aside, hurried into the shower, and pulled together an outfit that felt like the middle ground between girl next door and almost belongs in high society. Simple white blouse, cream trousers, gold earrings, and soft makeup. Still her, just polished. By 12:27, she stood outside her building. A sleek black sedan pulled up, the driver stepping out to open the door. Miss Hartley. She exhaled. This was her life now, at least for a while. The ride took her to a private botanical garden on the edge of the city. Massive iron gates opened silently as the car approached, and Ava stared in awe as rows of glass domes shimmered like crystal palaces beneath the afternoon sun. Inside one of the domes, surrounded by orchids and towering green palms, Adrian sat at a table draped in white linen. He wore a charcoal shirt with the sleeves pushed to his forearms, no tie, no suit jacket, still impossibly refined, yet more relaxed than she'd seen him. He looked up before she reached him, eyes sweeping over her outfit with an expression she couldn't categorize. Perfect, he said simply. Ava flushed despite herself. I didn't know if I picked the right thing. You did, he said. You always will. She sat across from him, heart thudding with a mix of anxiety and curiosity. So what's happening tomorrow? She asked. A charity gala, he said. Black tie, high press presence, very public. It will be our first official appearance together. Ava inhaled slowly. That's fast. It needs to be, Adrian said. Rumors are already circulating after last night. Her eyes widened. Already? You were seen with me, he said matter-of-factly. That alone creates stories. Ava swallowed her disbelief. She had lived her entire life invisible. Now she was a subject of speculation after a single night in a dress she bought on clearance. Is that bad? She asked. That depends on how we manage the narrative, he replied, which is why we need to prepare. He opened a sleek folder and slid it toward her. Inside were a list of upcoming events, a short biography crafted for public context, discussion topics, etiquette notes, and fashion suggestions, a section titled Projected Media Narratives. Ava lifted an eyebrow. You really thought this through? I have to, Adrian said. In my world, perception becomes reality. We don't want anyone thinking you're a fling. Heat bloomed in Ava's cheeks. They'll never believe I belong next to you. His expression shifted, sharp, protective. Then we'll make them. Ava looked down again at the documents. Under her name, the biography read, Ava Hartley, self-taught creative consultant with an eye for cultural trends and design psychology. She blinked. Where did you even get this? I wrote it, he said. You wrote it? Based on what? He hesitated, eyes softening. Based on how you carried yourself last night. Ava stared at him, something unsteady shifting in her chest. Before she could respond, servers appeared with silver platters. Fresh croissants, champagne, smoked salmon, berries arranged like jewels. Brunch wasn't just a meal, it was theater. Ava took a bite of a pastry. So airy it barely existed. So what should I expect tomorrow? She asked. Questions. Cameras. Introductions, Adrian replied. And my mother. Ava nearly choked. Your mother? He nodded slowly, swirling champagne in his glass. My family runs in circles where relationships are currency. They will evaluate you, test you. They'll want answers I'd rather they never have. She swallowed. Are they cruel? No, he said. Worse. Ava frowned. How is worse than cruel? Cruelty is obvious, he said quietly. You see it coming. They're polite, charming. They smile while dissecting you. That sent a chill down her spine. Your mother especially? She asked. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Adrian Hale is a force of nature, he said. She loves fiercely, but she's strategic. Every part of her life is a chessboard. And you're the king piece, Ava murmured. His silence confirmed everything. Before she could ask more, another voice echoed through the dome. Well, if it isn't the elusive Adrian Hale. Ava turned sharply. There, approaching with two assistants in tow, was Vanessa, Liam's fiancée. Of course fate wouldn't grant her peace. Vanessa stopped at their table, smile sweet but sharpening like a blade. I didn't realize you two were meeting privately, she purred. I thought last night was just a coincidence. Ava tensed, but Adrian leaned back calmly, expression unreadable. And I didn't realize you had business interests in the philanthropic sector, he replied. This garden is reserved for sponsors. Vanessa's eyes flicked subtly to Ava. I go where I wish. I'm not the one trying to climb. Ava's pulse spiked, but before she spoke, Adrian's voice turned cold. Not loud, not hostile, but firm enough to silence the air. Ava isn't climbing. She was invited. Vanessa's smile thinned. Of course she was. She leaned slightly toward Ava, lowering her tone. You should be careful. This world is much bigger than you think. People who don't understand the rules tend to get used. Ava smiled sweetly, mirroring Vanessa's own weaponized politeness. Oh, I know. You're a perfect example. Vanessa froze, eyes narrowing. Adrian stood, not abruptly, but with enough presence to end the conversation. Walk with me, he said to Ava, offering his hand. As they moved deeper into the garden, Ava's heartbeat thrummed with adrenaline. I shouldn't have said that, she muttered. I shouldn't fight back. Adrian glanced at her, lips curving slightly. You should, he said. People like her only respect those who push back. They reached a shaded bench beside a koi pond. Golden fish glided beneath water, like living sunlight. Adrian sat. Ava did too, slowly, cautiously. She knows who I am to you now, Ava whispered. She's going to tell Liam. Let her, Adrian replied. He'll see soon enough. Ava stared at the pond, trying to process everything. This new life, these new expectations, the way one decision had changed the trajectory of her world. She turned to Adrian. What do you want them to see when they look at us tomorrow? He didn't hesitate. A woman I chose with intention. Someone who makes me better just by being there. Ava blinked, throat constricting. Why would you say something like that? Because it's true. She shook her head. You barely know me. He looked at her, long, steady, unflinching. Some people you understand instantly, he said softly. Some you learn over time. You are both. Something inside her shifted dangerously, like a door unlocking. Before she could respond, he stood and offered his hand again. Come on, he said. We should get you fitted for tomorrow's event. They walked to an awaiting car, this time side by side, hands brushing occasionally in ways that felt like accidents but lingered too long to be harmless. The boutique Adrian brought her to was nothing like department stores she'd scraped savings to shop in. This place didn't display clothes, they displayed mastery. Gowns hung like sculptures, fabrics shimmering as though spun from moonlight and stardust. A stylist approached immediately. Mr. Hale, always a pleasure, she said. And this must be? My date for the gala, Adrian answered smoothly. The word date hit Ava like a spark. Not arrangement, not partner, not appearance. Date. The stylist smiled warmly. Wonderful. Let me see what suits her aura. Ava was ushered into a dressing suite, where gowns were brought to her like offerings. Emerald silk, silver chiffon, velvet black with cascading crystal embroidery. She stepped into the first dress and stared at her reflection. She didn't look like a girl who'd been discarded. She looked like a woman stepping into a life she was never supposed to have. When she came out, Adrian stood waiting. He looked up and stopped breathing. His gaze traveled from her shoulders to her waist to the soft fall of the gown, not with hunger, but reverence. You're extraordinary, he said quietly. Ava swallowed, heat rising to her cheeks. You're just being polite. No, he said. I don't say things I don't mean. She held his gaze, something fragile and electric humming between them. We should go with this one, he told the stylist, voice still a little rough. The stylist smiled like she saw everything they refused to say aloud. That night, Ava lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. The brunch, Vanessa's arrival, the pond, the dress, Adrian's words. Someone who makes me better just by being there. No one had ever attached those words to her. She turned over, pressing her face into her pillow, unable to stop smiling and terrified of what that meant. This was supposed to be a contract, a performance, a role. Yet somewhere, beneath the glitter and tension, something real had begun to form. Slow, dangerous, unstoppable as gravity. She fell asleep, imagining what tomorrow would bring. The gala was held at the Grand Regent Hotel, a building so tall the top floors pierced clouds. Reporters and photographers lined the entrance, cameras flashing like lightning against the digital billboards overhead. Ava stepped out of the car first, the hem of her gown sweeping across marble like liquid silver. For a moment, the world paused, lights, sounds, motion fading as everyone turned to look. Adrian exited behind her and placed a hand at the small of her back. Gasps rippled through the crowd. They walked the carpet together, poised and effortless. Reporters shouted questions. Mr. Hale, new relationship? Miss Hartley, is this serious? How long have you two been dating? Did you meet through business? Is this strategic before the international summit? Ava answered nothing, just smiled with soft poise, letting Adrian handle the orchestration. Inside the ballroom, Chandeliers dripped crystal light across polished marble, and champagne glasses clinked like delicate bells. Men in tuxedos turned to stare. Women whispered behind jeweled fingers. Ava had never stood in a room full of people without shrinking. Tonight, she walked taller. Adrian introduced her to CEOs, politicians, diplomats, people whose decisions shaped nations. And each time he said her name, she felt like someone worth introducing. Midway through the evening, a woman approached, elegant in navy silk, silver hair pinned back with an emerald comb. Ava recognized her instantly from photos. Adrian Hale, Adrian's mother. Her presence was regal, not loud, not intimidating, but commanding. People moved around her like tides around a cliff. Mother, Adrian greeted, voice carefully neutral. Catherine smiled at him, then turned her gaze to Ava. So, she said softly, you're the woman my son has chosen to stand beside. Her tone was polite, but her eyes analyzed Ava with surgical precision. Ava steadied herself. Yes, I'm honored to meet you. Catherine nodded once. You're poised. That's good. She glanced at Adrian. But why her? Adrian's jaw tightened. Because I chose her. That is not an answer, Catherine replied gently. It's the only one that matters, he said. Mother and son held each other's gaze, tense, silent. Ava stood still, heart racing, knowing this wasn't just a family introduction. It was a test of worth, loyalty, and power. Finally, Catherine smiled again, this time smaller, shrewder. I suppose we shall see, she said, then turned gracefully and walked away. Ava exhaled only when she'd vanished into the crowd. That was intense, she whispered. That was mild, Adrian replied. She's reserving judgment. Should I be worried? No, he said. Just be yourself. She nodded, then paused. Who are you when you're with her? She asked. He looked away, eyes unreadable. Someone she built, not someone she understands. Ava reached out, gently touching his hand. You won't always have to be that person, she said softly. Adrian looked at her, expression flickering, surprised, grateful, vulnerable. Before he could respond, a familiar voice cut through the ballroom. Well, Liam said behind them. You didn't waste time upgrading. Ava froze. Adrian's posture changed instantly, controlled, protective. Liam stepped closer, champagne in hand. Vanessa at his side like a matching accessory. Liam continued, eyes glinting. Last time I saw you, you were barely holding together. Now you're clinging to a billionaire like a lifeline. Impressive rebound. Ava felt old wounds flare. But this time, she didn't look away. She stepped closer, voice steady. I didn't rebound, she said. I outgrew. The table beside them fell silent. Vanessa's expression hardened. Liam blinked, thrown off. And one more thing, Ava added calmly. I don't climb. I rise. Adrian placed a hand at the small of her back. Not possessive, but proud. Liam opened his mouth to fire back. But someone approached from behind him. Catherine. And she had heard everything. She looked Liam over. Her gaze cool and dismissive. You're her ex, I assume, she said casually. Liam straightened. We dated, yes. Catherine tilted her head slightly. Then I imagine you regret losing her. Liam's face flushed, because it wasn't a question. Vanessa stiffened. Ava stared, stunned. Catherine smiled slightly at Ava, approval, however faint. Then she walked away without another word. Liam glared, humiliated, and retreated with Vanessa in tow. Ava's heart pounded. Adrian leaned down, voice low and warm. You did well, he murmured. Better than I expected. Ava looked up at him. Their faces close enough to share breath. For a moment, she whispered, I forgot we were pretending. Adrian's eyes darkened, not with danger, but with something far softer and far more terrifying. So did I, he breathed. Time suspended. The gala around them blurred to nothing. And for the first time, it didn't feel like Ava was playing a role in someone else's world. It felt like she was beginning to belong. Not because of the dress, the wealth, the attention, but because someone finally saw her as someone worth standing beside. When pretending starts to feel real, The morning after the gala, Ava woke with sore feet, a dry throat, and a lingering sensation of emotional electricity humming just beneath her skin. It wasn't just the cameras or the compliments or the way wealthy strangers had looked at her like she belonged standing beside Adrian. It was the moment at the staircase, the one where Adrian leaned close, breath brushing her cheek, eyes soft and unguarded, like he wasn't looking at a contract partner, but at a woman he wanted. She replayed the moment again and again as she showered, dressed, and brushed her hair. Each time she asked herself the same question. Was that him acting for the crowd or something else? And the more she thought about it, the more terrified she became, because she didn't know which answer scared her more. Her phone buzzed. A message from Adrian. Brunch at Hale Tower, penthouse level. 11 o'clock, casual attire. We need to discuss last night. AH. Ava's stomach flipped. Discuss last night could mean anything, from strategy to boundary setting to, worst case scenario, him deciding she'd cross a line. She forced herself to breathe. She could handle this. Hale Tower wasn't just a building. It was an obelisk of power jutting into the clouds, a skyscraper wrapped in reflective steel that mirrored the city's skyline back at itself. The lobby alone looked like a cathedral built for billionaires. Polished stone floors, waterfall walls, gold-trimmed elevators, and a concierge desk that could have doubled as a judge's bench. The private elevator required biometric access from the driver. When it reached the top floor, the doors opened into a penthouse that didn't feel like a home so much as a world. Floor-to-ceiling windows formed seamless glass walls, revealing a sweeping panorama of the city. The living room sprawled across the open floor plan, all sleek lines, dark wood, and modern elegance. A grand piano sat near the windows. A rooftop garden extended beyond sliding glass doors. Ava stepped out slowly, trying not to look overwhelmed. This place looks like something out of film, she whispered. Adrian appeared in the kitchen area, dressed casually in dark pants and a slate blue Henley that made his eyes look stormier than usual. Coffee? He asked, holding out a mug. She took it, fingers brushing his briefly. Too brief to mean anything, too long not to feel something. For a moment, neither spoke. You left early last night, she said finally. I needed to clear my head. About what? He hesitated, jaw tightening. About us. Ava's pulse skipped. He walked over to the window, looking out over the skyline. This arrangement was supposed to be controlled, predictable. But you, he exhaled, you make things unpredictable. She stepped closer, but kept distance. Is that bad? It could be, he admitted, if we don't handle it carefully. Ava swallowed. You think we're crossing lines? I think we could, he corrected. Not yet, but the potential is there. She held her mug tighter. Do you want to end the deal? He turned immediately, eyes sharp. No. Relief washed over her so intensely she nearly sagged. But we need to talk about boundaries, he continued, before emotion shaped the narrative instead of our choices. Ava nodded slowly. Okay, what are your rules? He walked toward her, steps measured. No jealousy, he said softly. No expectations outside what we agreed on. No imagining a future that isn't defined in the contract. Ava looked up at him. And what about you? My rules apply to me too, he said. She studied him, his posture rigid, his expression careful, his eyes betraying the subtle conflict he tried to hide. You're afraid, she whispered. His jaw flexed. Of what? Of feeling something real. He didn't deny it. That silence was answer enough. Ava took a breath, steadying her voice. I won't fall in love with you, she said gently. I'm not here for that. I'm here to rebuild my life. Adrian held her gaze for a long moment. I believe you, he said, but feelings don't ask permission. She swallowed because she knew he was right. They stood there in silence, city lights spilling across the room, both of them aware of the invisible line between them, and how dangerously thin it was becoming. Finally, Adrian cleared his throat. We also need to discuss public expectations, he said. Ava blinked. Public. He pulled out his phone and handed it to her. A headline glowed on the screen. Tech billionaire Adrian Hale debuts new girlfriend at Grand Regent Gala. Who is Ava Hartley? Her throat went dry. She scrolled further. Mystery woman stuns in silver gown. Fashion analysts approve. Rumors suggest relationship could affect Hale's global deal. Exclusive. Sources say she may move into penthouse. Ava nearly dropped the phone. Move in. I haven't even been here 40 minutes. Speculation moves faster than truth, Adrian said calmly. But why does anyone care? I'm not famous. I'm not rich. I'm nobody. He stepped closer, voice low. You're not nobody. Not anymore. Before she could respond, the elevator chimed. Adrian stiffened. That must be my sister. Your sister? Ava whispered, nerves flaring again. The elevator doors opened, revealing a woman with bright auburn hair, sharp hazel eyes, and a confident stride. She wore a tailored coat and heel boots, carrying the aura of someone who destroyed corporate offices for fun. Adrian, she said, giving him a quick hug. Then she turned to Ava. So you're the girl turning headlines upside down. Ava forced a smile. I hope that's a good thing. It's interesting, the woman replied. And interesting is rare in this family. I'm Elise. Ava shook her hand. Nice to meet you. Elise studied her for a moment, expression shifting, softening. He hasn't smiled like this in years, she murmured quietly, then raised her voice. Well, welcome to the circus. As Elise moved to the kitchen to unpack documents, Ava leaned toward Adrian, whispering, She's intense. He chuckled. She's a reasonable one. Ava blinked. If Elise is reasonable, what does that make your mother? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. An hour later, Ava was seated across from both siblings as they went to what Adrian called public integration. It felt like a cross between media training and emotional triage. Elise asked questions rapid fire. How do you handle confrontation? What do you want the world to believe about your relationship? Are you prepared to be criticized simply for existing beside him? Do you understand that some people think you're a gold digger? What will you say when tabloids twist the truth? Ava answered as honestly as she could. Finally, Elise leaned back. You're more grounded than I expected. Meaning what? Ava asked softly. Elise held her gaze. Meaning maybe you're good for him. Adrian looked down at the table, as if the compliment unsettled him. Elise gathered her things, kissed her brother's cheek, and headed toward the elevator. But before she stepped inside, she turned to Ava once more. Just remember, Hale men don't love easily, but when they do, they love hard. Make sure you're ready if that line ever gets crossed. Ava's breath caught. She didn't reply. Elise disappeared behind the closing doors. Later that afternoon, Adrian drove Ava home personally. The ride was quiet at first, city lights reflecting across the windshield like falling stars. Ava watched them, voice barely above a whisper. Do you ever get tired of being watched? All the time, Adrian replied, but I'm used to it. I don't know if I ever will be. He glanced at her. I'll make sure no one hurts you. She looked down at their hands resting near each other on the leather seat. So close they nearly touched. I don't need protection, she whispered. I just need truth. He exhaled softly. Truth is harder than protection. She didn't argue. When they reached her apartment building, he stepped out and walked around to open her door. When she stood in front of him, the night air cool on her skin, everything felt suspended again, like they were teetering on the edge of something unplanned. Ava, he said quietly. Yes. There's something I should tell you. Something I haven't said yet. She held her breath. I didn't choose you only because you didn't want something from me, he said. I chose you because you reminded me of a version of myself I lost a long time ago. Her heart stuttered. Which version is that? His gaze softened. No walls, no armor, just a man standing beneath the weight of his own history. The version that believed people cared without reason, he whispered. Ava felt her chest tighten. And do you believe that now? She asked softly. He swallowed, eyes flicking down to her lips, then back up again. I want to, he said, more than I should. The air thickened between them, charged, fragile. Ava lifted a hand, slowly, gently, and let her fingers brush his cheek, tracing the line of his jaw. He leaned into her touch, just barely, not as a billionaire, Not as a public figure. As a man. A relationship doesn't have to end in destruction, she whispered. His voice came low and rough. You say that like you believe it. I do. He closed his eyes briefly, like the truth hurt. Then he stepped back. Not abruptly. Not coldly. Just enough to breathe. We can't cross that line, he said, voice strained. I know. They stood there, inches apart, both aware that one impulsive moment could rewrite everything. A siren wavered in the distance. A streetlight flickered overhead. The world moved on while they stayed frozen in something dangerously close to intimacy. Adrian exhaled and reached for her hand. I'll see you tomorrow, he said. She squeezed his fingers before letting go. Good night, Adrian. He stepped back, giving her one last look, longer than polite, shorter than confession. Then he returned to the car. Ava watched it disappear down the street, headlights fading into the night, leaving her alone on the sidewalk with her palms still warm from where he held it. When she finally went upstairs, she leaned against her bedroom door and let herself smile, slow, soft, terrified. She hadn't fallen. Not yet, but she was leaning close to the edge, closer than she should be, and she didn't know whether she wanted to pull back or leap. Meanwhile, across the city, Adrian stood in his penthouse, staring at the skyline with a glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. Elisa's words echoed in his head. Hale men don't love easily, but when they do, they love hard. He closed his eyes. He remembered another woman, another life, another heartbreak. He remembered promises that ended in betrayal, voices shouting across penthouse walls, accusations that left scars money couldn't hide. He took a slow breath. This isn't real, he whispered to the empty room. But even he didn't believe himself. The next morning, Ava checked her email and nearly dropped her coffee. A message from an international fashion magazine. We would love to feature you in a spotlight piece. From unknown to high society, the woman beside Adrian Hale. Let us know if you're interested. Below that, podcast invitation, modern power couples, designer request, free gowns in exchange for promotion, interview request from a major entertainment network. Ava pressed a hand to her mouth. She hadn't asked for a spotlight, but the world had handed her one anyway. Her phone buzzed again. A new text from Adrian. We need to talk. Now. Her heart thudded. She typed back. On my way. This time, she didn't wonder if she was stepping into someone else's life. She knew she was stepping into her own. The only question now was whether she would rise gracefully or burn, and whether Adrian would fall with her. When a contract turns into something real. Ava arrived at Hale Tower with her pulse thundering, the city sharp and alive beneath a pale morning sky. She entered to the private lobby, where staff now greeted her by name, a detail she still hadn't gotten used to. The elevator whisked her upward, silent and swift, and when the doors opened to penthouse, Adrian stood waiting. He wasn't dressed in business formal or gala attire today. He wore dark slacks, a white shirt with rolled sleeves, and an expression that looked less guarded than usual, yet not relaxed either. Vulnerable, maybe. Restless. Ava, he said quietly. Come in. She stepped into the living room, setting her bag aside. He gestured toward the balcony, and she followed him outside where the city stretched endlessly below. For a moment, neither spoke. She finally broke the silence. You said we needed to talk. What happened? He slid his hands into his pockets, shoulders tense. Your name is trending globally. Ava blinked. What? He handed her his phone. On social media, headlines blared. Who is Ava Hartley? The Billionaire's mystery girlfriend trends worldwide. From invisible to influential, Ava Hartley becomes overnight style icon. Fashion houses compete to dress Adrian Hale's new love interest. Ava's eyes widened. I didn't ask for this. I know, Adrian said softly, but now the world is watching. She sank onto a cushioned bench, staring at the skyline. This wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. It was inevitable, he replied. Attention follows me. Now it follows you too. She looked up at him. Are you angry? No, he said, but I need to know if you're ready for what comes next. Because media interest means speculation. Speculation leads to pressure. Pressure leads to lines blurring. Ava inhaled shakily. Lines like us. He paused. Too long to be innocent. We said no emotions, he reminded. We also said no pretending outside events, she countered. But last night didn't feel like pretending. He turned away, bracing his hands on the railing, jaw tight. You don't know what you're getting into. Then tell me, she whispered. Let me understand. His shoulders rose and fell slowly. Silence stretched. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, rough with memories he didn't want to revisit. I was engaged once. Years ago. Her name was Diana. Ava's chest tightened. She said nothing, afraid to breathe. She wanted power, but she pretended it was love. I trusted her. I believed her. I let her into my world, my company, my life. He laughed bitterly. She almost destroyed everything. She leaked confidential deals to a rival firm, gave competitors access to prototypes, tried to sell shares of my company behind my back. Ava covered her mouth in shock. She told me she loved me. Adrian continued quietly. And then she used me. He didn't turn around. He couldn't. Ava stepped closer, her voice gentle. That's why you hate relationships. I don't hate them, he whispered. I don't trust them. Another beat of silence passed before he looked over his shoulder. Do you still think this could work? Ava met his gaze, steady and unafraid. I think you're hurt, she said. And I think you stopped believing someone could want you without wanting your power. He swallowed hard. And what about you, he asked. Do you want something from me? Yes, she said softly. Just one thing. His breath hitched. What? To see the real man beneath all the armor. That cracked something in him. Something invisible. Something heavy. But before he could respond, the elevator chimed. They both tensed. The door slid open, and Liam stepped out. Ava went still. He looked different now, less smug, more cornered, like he came expecting a fight. Ava, he said, stepping forward, we need to talk. Adrian moved instantly, positioning himself slightly in front of her. No, he said calmly. You need to leave. Liam scoffed. This doesn't concern you. It concerns anyone who tries to hurt her, Adrian replied evenly. Ava stepped forward, voice steady. Why are you here? Liam looked between them, jealousy twisting his features. You're all over the news, he snapped. You think you belong in this world now? With him. Ava lifted her chin. I didn't ask for the attention, but I'm not running from it either. Liam shook his head, bitter. This isn't you. You're not polished. You're not sophisticated. You were meant for a quiet life. I kept you grounded. No, she said, her voice slicing through the air. You kept me small. His expression faltered. You dumped me because I wasn't enough for you, she continued, voice breaking then reforming stronger. Now you're angry because I became more than you ever imagined. Liam stepped closer, voice lower, desperate. I made a mistake, okay? I shouldn't have left you. I thought Vanessa was what I needed, but she doesn't care about me. Not like you did. Ava stared at him, not with longing or heartbreak, but clarity. I care for the version of you who loved me, she said, not the one who belittled me. And that version doesn't exist anymore. Liam looked at her as though realizing he lost something that could never be returned. Please, he whispered. I want another chance. Ava inhaled deeply, then looked at Adrian. He watched her quietly, not possessive, not territorial, just waiting to see what she needed to say. She turned back to Liam. There is no chance, she said gently. Not because I'm with him, but because I'm finally with myself. Liam flinched. She stepped past him, heading for the elevator. But before she pressed the button, she turned one last time. You taught me something important, she said. Never let anyone define my worth. So, thank you. The doors opened. Liam didn't follow. He didn't speak. He simply watched her go, defeated. The elevator closed between them like a curtain on a chapter finally ending. Ava didn't go far. She only rode to the rooftop terrace above the penthouse, where wind whipped her hair and the city roared below. She leaned against the railing and exhaled everything she'd been holding back for months. Pain, shame, hope, fear, all of it spilling out in one long breath. Footsteps approached softly behind her. She didn't turn. "I thought you might need air," Adrian said. "I needed closure," she whispered. "And did you get it?" She nodded. "He didn't break me. I just hadn't healed yet." Adrian stood beside her, looking over the edge. "You handled that with grace," he said quietly. "More than I could have." Ava smiled faintly. "You were ready to throw him off the balcony." He huffed a soft laugh. "Not literally." She raised a brow. "You're sure?" He held her gaze, something warm igniting behind his eyes. "Not entirely." For a moment, they just stood there, two people holding their own histories, their own wounds, their own fears, now standing on the same ledge of possibility. Ava turned fully to him. "The contract was supposed to protect us from feelings," she said softly. "But I think feelings were always part why we chose each other." Adrian looked at her like she was unraveling every defense he'd ever built. "I don't want to hurt you," he whispered. "You won't," she said. "Not if we grow together, instead of hiding from what might happen." He stepped closer. "And what if I fall?" She reached up, cupping his face gently, her thumb brushing his cheekbone. "Then I'll catch you," she whispered. "Just like you caught me." His inhale was sharp, fragile. "And what if you fall?" he asked. She smiled softly. "Then you'll finally understand why you never stopped caring." Something inside him broke, not painfully, but like ice thawing into water. He leaned his forehead against hers, breathing her in. "No contracts," he murmured. "No conditions," she agreed. "No pretending. Only truth." His hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer, not hesitantly, not cautiously, but with reverence. "Then I'm yours," he whispered. Ava closed her eyes, heart cracking open like dawn over the horizon. "And I'm yours," she breathed back. Their lips met, not for show, not for revenge, not for an audience. For them. The kiss was slow, deep, soul-softening. A beginning, not a performance. A promise, not a disguise. When they finally broke apart, Adrian held her face in both hands, eyes shining with a vulnerability he no longer tried to hide. "You changed everything," he whispered. "I didn't change anything," she corrected. "I just reminded you of who you were before someone broke you." He exhaled, letting truth replace fear. And for the first time, Adrian Hale kissed her again without restraint, hands tangled in her hair, heartbeat racing, every wall collapsing. Later that week, they attended a press event hand in hand. Not as a performance, but as something real. Reporters shouted questions. Ava answered with confidence. When asked if she was dating Adrian for his wealth, she smiled calmly and said, "I don't need his money. I need his honesty. That's far rarer than power." The room went silent. Adrian kissed her temple. No acting, no arrangement, just devotion. Liam watched the interview from afar, face unreadable. Vanessa stood beside him, arms crossed, bored, already moving on. But the camera captured his expression at the exact second he realized. He didn't lose Ava to a billionaire. He lost her to the woman she grew into. Months later, Ava launched her own branding agency with backing from Adrian. Not as a gift, but as a partnership she earned with her own talent. Clients lined up not because of her association with him, but because she delivered results that stunned investors. She no longer lived in the shadow of a man. She lived in her own spotlight. Adrian walked beside her, not above her, not in front of her, beside her. Their success wasn't built on a kiss of revenge. It was built on a choice, a mutual rise. And the final lesson, spoken in Ava's voiceover as credits rolled on their imagined future. Respect everyone. Value people before their status. Because you never know who someone will become, or who they already are beneath the surface. The end.